Hello, and welcome to our YouTube channel, RV Tips from Jan. Today's topic, the top 10 causes of RV accidents. Well, unquestionably, the pandemic has led to record number of sales in the recreational vehicle industry. And in fact, record numbers of us are going to be getting out this summer and enjoying RVing, either because we have purchased an RV or because we know someone that has an RV and will be joining them on a weekend or weekly excursion. These are a great way to get back to a more normal America. And as we're all breaking loose this summer, either because we've been vaccinated or feel comfortable in getting out and about and enjoying the great outdoors, we're going to find that the opportunity to have an accident is going to be greater this year than at any other time in our past in terms of the RV industry. This is a subject that's certainly near and dear to me because I've had a number of near misses myself, even though this is our second trailer that we have owned, and we're feeling much more comfortable towing today than we did when we first started out. Still, this is a great reminder, even for those of us who consider ourselves to be seasoned RVers, of the 10 causes of accidents that can lead to serious injury and damage to our tow vehicle as well as to our recreational vehicle trailer. So let's get started and review these. We're going to start with number 10. Number 10 on the list, RV blind spots. Well, this is something that we're all familiar with if we've been doing any kind of extended RVing. Whether it's pulling into that campsite and trying to avoid the trees, or getting gas at the gas station and making sure that we make a wide enough turn to avoid the gas pumps. We've all had experiences where things can get a little bit tight and we can get distracted, and that can lead to an accident. There's a couple great videos on YouTube of seasoned RVers, particularly those who are doing a lot of camping, and they find that their particular campsite may be rather tight in terms of trying to maneuver their trailer and their tow vehicle, and they find that they need to have someone at the back of the trailer as a spotter to make sure that they don't run into trees or picnic tables or their fire pit. In some cases, you can seem to be perfectly clear on each side of your RV, but if you haven't checked your overhead clearance, you can have a problem there with tree limbs. And there's some videos on YouTube of seasoned RVers who have had a tree limb go across the top of their RV trailer and has torn that rubber membrane. That membrane is susceptible to damage if it comes into contact with any type of other hard surface. And this can be an expensive lesson for all of us, costing thousands of dollars. The estimated cost to replace a roof alone is about $300 a linear foot. So on a 30-foot trailer, you're looking close to $10,000 to replace that roof. So when we're backing in, let's make sure that we have sufficient clearance not only on each side, that we have a spotter in back, but also that there's clearance overhead so we don't hit those tree limbs and cause damage. Number 9 on our list, not realizing that we haven't left ourselves enough space between the car in front of us or the truck in front of us and ourselves if we have to make a sudden stop. Typically plan on leaving at least twice the normal distance between yourself and the vehicle in front of you in case you need to make a stop. If you happen to be on a rain-covered road or slippery conditions, plan on 3 to 4 times your normal distance. Remember, even though you have electric brakes on your trailer, the fact is you have 4, 5, 6,000 pounds behind you that has a tendency to want to push you as you're applying those brakes. Please leave yourself extra room so that you don't run into that vehicle in front of you. Number 8 on our list of the top 10 causes of RV accidents is miscalculating the amount of space that we need for a wide turn. This is a real interesting dilemma that we can run into, not only in gas stations, but as we get off the main highway and find that we might be getting on a winding road. There's some great videos on YouTube of fellow RVers who have gotten into the mountains and find that the total length of their tow vehicle and their RV really presents a problem in terms of them making those hairpin turns, especially if there's any kind of traffic. So a couple things that we need to do here. Think ahead, be aware that you need to make a wider turn, and also if you're going to get off the main highway, take a good look at the roads and make sure that you're not getting on a road that's going to have such a tight turn that you can't maneuver it with your tow vehicle and RV. Nothing is worse than getting on that back road, enjoying the beautiful scenery, and all of a sudden realizing you can't go forward, you can't go backwards, and you can't turn around. The seventh cause of RV accidents is really a scary one, and that is rollovers. This can happen due to a combination of high speed, slippery conditions, where the trailer starts to develop sway and you lose control of both your tow vehicle and the trailer. Or in some cases, you could be driving along and all of a sudden your two right side RV tires drop onto that shoulder, and if it's soft, that can cause the RV to tend to want to tip, pull the tow vehicle off the road, and the next thing you know, you're flipped over on your side. The best thing to do in these situations, according to the experts, is be aware of your surroundings and slow down if you find yourself in a situation where you have concerns about how tight the space is for the tow vehicle and for your RV, and also the condition of the shoulder. And certainly, don't pull off that road if that shoulder looks like it won't support the weight of your RV. Occasionally, people have pulled off the road and all of a sudden they realize that their RV is starting to tip, and because of the weight, as they start to pull it forward to pull away, it tips even more, and the next thing you know, that recreational vehicle is tipped over on its side, and oftentimes that will even flip over the tow vehicle. These are things that we need to be aware of, and new RVers particularly need to take caution when it comes to those types of situations. Number 6, detached trailer. And we've all seen examples of this on YouTube, and it's very scary. This usually happens as a result of us becoming distracted and getting away from our normal routine of how we would attach our trailer to our tow vehicle. That can happen at the campsite when we're getting ready to leave and a fellow camper comes up to say goodbye, or it can happen when we're getting ready to depart to go camping and we think of something else that needs to be done, and we allow that to become a distraction to the regular routine that we would be following and hooking up. Just be mindful of this, because that distraction can lead to the trailer becoming detached from your tow vehicle, having an accident, causing damage. Number 5 on our top 10 list of causes of RV accidents, uneven loaded RV. This can happen as a result of us quickly packing up if we're moving from one campsite to another, or even not stopping to think about how we're loading the RV for the weekend trip. Keep in mind, try to get most of your load in the RV over the center, over those center axles. Be careful that you don't overload the rear or overload the front of the RV. Also keep in mind that if you have a full tank of water, a full tank of black waste, or a full tank of gray waste, that those add additional weight, at least an additional 8 pounds per gallon. So if there's 100 gallons of additional fluids that you're carrying, and each of those tanks combined, you're looking at an additional 800 pounds of weight on your RV. Be mindful of this and the location of those particular tanks if you're going to be driving with those full of liquids. Well, the number 4 cause of RV accidents is really closely related to number 5. Number 5 being uneven load in our RV. Number 4 is an overloaded RV. And this is particularly problematic for full-time RVers, but also some of us who go away for a week at a time can find ourselves overloading our RV. A couple things to keep in mind. Our tow vehicles have 2 ratings that we need to be mindful of. The first is the rating of the tow capacity. Rarely do we exceed that. The second, though, is the rating of the load capacity. The load capacity is calculated by the hitch weight plus the cargo weight on our tow vehicle plus the weight of the passengers. Here's where we can run into a real problem. If we unevenly load that RV and get too much weight in the front, our hitch weight, which we may think is a particular number because that's what we've been told by the manufacturer, could be off by 50%. We could, instead of being 600 pounds, it could be 900 pounds or 1,000 pounds if we've overloaded the RV on the front. Additionally, being mindful of how much load you're actually carrying in the RV is important, and knowing what the rated limit is of your RV axles and tires. Here again, it's better to have less and be safe than take more and be overloaded. That's a good rule of thumb. Number 3 on the list is one that honestly sort of surprised me, but it is number 3, which means that it made one of the top rankings of causes of RV accidents, and that's tired drivers. And this really happens for those recreational vehicle owners who are getting out for more than just a weekend excursion. Maybe they're taking a couple weeks and trying to drive across the country, and they spend more time sightseeing than they realize that or plan for, and as a result, they have a very tight schedule that they're trying to make up by driving longer hours and a little bit. It's better to plan to be safe, to cut your trip a little bit shorter, to spend a little bit less time behind the wheel, get there safely and enjoy your adventure versus having a bad experience and causing a damage or potentially injury to yourself and your passenger. Number 2 on the list of the top reasons for RV accidents is high winds. And there's certain parts of the country where the roads are wide open and there's flat plains and there can be 40, 50 mile an hour winds. The terrain is such that those winds can cause real havoc on our recreational vehicle. There's a couple things that we can do. One, we can slow down, but seasoned RVers will tell you the prudent thing to do is probably get off that highway and travel on the back roads. There you have the protection of the trees, which also cuts down on the wind. Plus you're going to be traveling slower, and it's going to be an enjoyable trip because you'll be able to do some sightseeing. Now, yes, it's going to take you longer to get to your final destination, but getting there safely is the most important objective of your trip. The number 1 cause of RV accidents should not surprise us, and we're all guilty of this, and that's speeding. Did you know that the RV industry shares with us that for every 10 miles per hour that we drive over 50, towing that big box behind us, the chances of having an accident go up by 50%. So stop and think about that. If you drive 50 miles an hour and decide you want to drive up to 60 miles an hour, the chances of an accident go up by 50%. If you're driving at 60 and decide you want to drive up to 70 miles per hour, the chances of an accident go up by another 50%. These are not my numbers. These are the numbers from the RV industry. Well, what does that tell us? This is a lot different than driving your truck or your car on the road without that big box behind you. When you put that trailer behind you, there's all kinds of new factors that come into play. Sway, big trucks going around you, high winds, slippery roads, having to suddenly make a maneuver to avoid an object that's on the highway. All of these things become more complicated and more difficult for us to do as drivers when we're towing that RV trailer. To have the best experience, the best practice is slow down. If you're used to driving at 70 miles an hour on the highway with your tow vehicle alone, reduce that down to 60 to 65. If you're used to driving at 75 on the highway, definitely reduce that down to 65. You will find this will allow you to not only be safer, but have the reaction time that you need in case something develops on the highway where you have to suddenly make a tough decision about either a maneuver, a stop, or in the case of slippery conditions. So these are our top 10 causes of RV accidents. I hope you found this video to be helpful and instructive. If you have, please check that subscription box. But as we say at the end of all of our videos, most importantly, please continue to be safe, stay well, and enjoy your RVing this summer. Thank you for watching.